here, because that was indeed a shocking. So all are watching the broadcast, what's happening here, and in fact most of the people who could save themselves, because that was really scary at the moment. So the first attempt was only to evacuate the office, and that's exactly what we should do. If you're in certain areas and if you have the passage, go to the safer places. There are those protocols we have been learning since school times when it comes to the earthquake or the tremors when you feel it. So that was the first protocol. Initially what we also see, these fans, these kind of ceiling fans, or the fans who were put out here, it was literally shaking up. So we could see the impact of this 4.1 Richter magnitude, and exactly all of them we felt it here. Like even sitting here for a second, it was realizing that maybe potentially this is a chair which is shaking about. But next 3 to 4 seconds, it was quick to realize that it was a heavy, really heavy earthquake in this part of India.
On the Richter scale is what we know. These are details that have just come in. As far as the earthquake is concerned, 4.6 on the Richter scale, and the epicenter is Nepal. In fact, there is a revised detail also that has come in. This is 6.2 on the Richter scale. Okay, this is the National Center for Seismology saying that the earthquake of magnitude 6.2 on the Richter scale, and the location is Nepal. So that essentially remains the same. Ashutosh, this is way beyond 4.6. This was a big earthquake. 6.2 on the Richter scale, and that's an update that has come in from the National Center for Seismology.
And trust me,
Yes.
while we were having this assumption on the first data that it could be potentially 4.1, the magnitude that we really failed of the tremor was way more than, because during Nepal and other places when we have come out, we have even seen the aftershocks. So when it goes to Richter 6+, that's really a scary scenario. One cannot really ignore it. You will feel it. So either it is on a sky top buildings or even on a single story building, you will feel 6.1 is really a huge, and it has a potential to bring really significant damage to these structures. Now, since the epicenter remains Nepal, still you see all our colleagues are lined up here. All are watching the broadcast, what has happened really, and most of the places that we are seeing the images, people have either evacuated the buildings, the institutions, the shopping malls, every places people are out on the road. And exactly reason is that this was not just a smaller scale magnitude tremor, 6.1, and it has really very potential to bring significant damage, particularly in the epicenter areas. And if Nepal said to be by the seismology that Nepal remains be the epicenter of this tremor, this earthquake, then we'll have to wait for more details. In fact, I'm tracking down certain Nepal news agencies or the website to follow if there are some significant damage has been done or how the people are reacting, but remains, because it's just been barely few minutes. We are tracking down the data whether there has been any damage so far. So we will be tracking all the updates, but for now, as you see, entire northern region is out on the road, as everyone who have felt this really heavy and potentially very damaging tremor 6.1, which is really huge. We see the reactions from the people who are really out on the road.
Reactions from everybody, and these are pictures, viewers, from inside the India Today office. I'm going to now go straight to my colleague Amit, who is in fact in central Delhi right now. Amit, what do you really see around you? This panic, of course, a lot of people taking no chances, stepping out of their offices and homes. Amit. Amit Bhardwaj, if you can hear me, I was asking you about the scenes around you. You are, of course, at the protest of the Trinamool Congress. But how did the people there react, and what's the situation like right now?
Well, Sneha, we know for a matter of fact that this is a huge earthquake tremors that has been felt across North India, be it Punjab, Chandigarh, different regions of the Delhi NCR, including the national capital. People here are politically charged up because of the speeches that are continuously being made out. Many of these people do not even know that earthquake had hit the northern region of the country. But the data, the initial data that is coming up is really concerning. What we know so far is that the epicenter could be in Nepal region itself, and the official data has come that on the Richter scale it is 6.2, which is, anything beyond 6 is concerned to be really serious. So entire North India in a way has felt the tremors up till, in Chandigarh you had strong tremors, in Lucknow there people have felt the tremors, and in Delhi NCR the situation is no different. But speaking of Jantar Mantar, where Trinamool Congress protest is going on, because politically charged up speeches are going on, people are so engrossed in these political speeches and the protests that they have possibly not felt the tremors by now. Otherwise it would have been a different kind of situation. People are still sitting silently. However, because this space is open, so we can say that they are anyway in a very safe area right now, because that's what's suggested by the experts in times of earthquake as well, that you have to move to open spaces where you can protect yourself, because there are chances of building collapsing in, if the tremors continue for long, or there is reoccurrence of the earthquake tremors.
Yes.
So that way it is a safe area where all these people
aftershocks
have
as well. Amit, I'm just going to come back to you in a moment from now. In fact, my colleague Shivarur is also joining us live from the newsroom right now. Shiv, 6.2 on the Richter scale, that's a strong one.
It's a strong one, and this is in western Nepal. This map that's just been put out by the National Center for Seismology, Sneha, tells you exactly where the epicenter is. This is Nepal here. This is, of course, Uttar Pradesh. Delhi here. This is Chandigarh, Himachal, Ladakh here. The epicenter is this yellow spot. We're told the depth of the quake was about 5 kilometers in western Nepal, not very far, just due north from Lucknow and Kanpur, and that's the reason why the tremors were very strongly felt in the entire, central to western UP, Delhi, Chandigarh, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab region. So the entire northern part of the country really has felt those tremors in varying intensity. Initially, it had been imagined that the Richter scale reading was about 4.6. That's been revised by the Seismology Center to 6.2. That makes it one of the bigger earthquakes. Remember, the kinds of quakes we usually see in the Nepal region, in Hindu Kush, etc., in the north, are usually in the range of 4.5 to 5.5. Anything above 6 is actually quite rare. This was 6.2 on the Richter scale, Sneha, making it one of the larger quakes we've seen. And that's also one of the reasons, perhaps, why the tremors actually lasted so long, for over 45 seconds, according to some accounts, with many of those aftershocks being felt long after the initial tremors.
Right, strong tremors have been felt in Delhi NCR region. Shiv, any news just yet? I know it's a little early, given that there is very sketchy information coming in from Nepal, but any destruction, any news of any injuries in that earthquake?
Waiting at the moment, Sneha, because like I said, once an earthquake happens, it usually takes time for first responders to get out there. But remember, Nepal, no stranger to the devastation caused by earthquakes. Everyone remembers the earthquake, just a few years ago in Nepal that had caused widespread devastation in Kathmandu and beyond. This particular quake has been in western Nepal, very close to the border with India and other parts of northern India. So we don't know yet what kind of damage may have actually happened, what sort of terrain it is where this particular epicenter is. But I'm imagining in the next half an hour to 45 minutes, there will be a much, much clearer picture. 6.2, doesn't bode very well in terms of the possible damage that could have occurred. But that, of course, depends on where the epicenter is, where those shock waves were most felt. If there are built-up areas, there is, of course, a possibility of damage. At this moment, no information so far about casualties or damage, Sneha.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that big story, 6.2 on the Richter scale. My colleague Kamaljeet is also now joining us. Kamal, where exactly are you right now? What do you really see around you? And we're hoping that there aren't any injuries or any destruction wherever you are. What more can you tell us?
Well, I'm in Sector 17, Chandigarh. This is the heart of Chandigarh city, and two seismic we felt triggers. And yes, here we are. We'll just try and speak to a few people out here about the earthquake. I know you were having food, but do tell us about the earthquake. Did you feel?
Yes, I felt.
Yeah.
नहीं, हम तो क्लास में थे एक्चुअली, तो थोड़ा पता लगा, बट एज वी आर डॉक्टर्स भी हमें ये था कि चलो पहले पढ़ाई कर लेते हैं, रहने देते हैं, अर्थक्वेक आते रहेंगे.
So all smiles and you're totally relaxed. Were you worried about your family? Did you reach out to somebody?
पता ही था कि 1-2 मिनट होता है फिर ठीक हो जाता है, तो इतना कुछ वो नहीं था. ये तो होते ही रहता है, अर्थक्वेक आजकल आम हो चुका है.
So the doctors are as cool as the cucumber, but you have a training session. Was the class immediately dismissed? Was there a lot going on there?
No, not at all. We did feel the earthquake, but it wasn't as much dangerous as we thought it to be. So we were totally fine, and we just came down for
A sense of panic within your heart?
yeah, for a minute definitely, but otherwise it was calm.
It was calm.
Yeah.
Did you see people rushing out either in the class or was
No,
there a
no.
statement
Nothing.
or some exchange between the students?
Nothing of that sort. Nothing of that
Nothing
sort.
of that sort. You continued with your class?
Yeah, definitely.
So they are now out here, but we see a lot of people who've gathered, and remember this is a place where a lot of people gather. We'll just have a word with them. भूकंप का झटका आया, आप लोगों को क्या महसूस हुआ और आप लोग उस समय कहाँ थे?
हम तो यहीं पे बैठे थे, तो ज़्यादा कुछ फील हुआ नहीं, लेकिन वहाँ से जो ऑफिसेज हैं और लाइब्रेरी वगैरह, वहाँ से बहुत सारे बच्चे बाहर आए कि भूकंप आ गया. उससे ज़्यादा हमें पता नहीं क्या हुआ.
तो आप बाहर बैठे थे तो इतना महसूस नहीं.
Just coming back to you in a moment from now, my colleague Surinder is now joining us from Kathmandu. Surinder, what more can you tell us about the earthquake that you see? Injuries or destruction around you? What are the details you can share with us?
Well, reports are saying that the earthquake occurred at local time 2:40 in far western Nepal, Bachang district, which borders actually Uttarakhand, and actually Delhi must be closer from there compared to Kathmandu, which is 1,200 kilometers away. As of now, we don't have any report of casualties or damage, but we are expecting some reports. Of buildings crashing and things like that, which are very common in such events. Like it happened last year also in the same area. There was a similar magnitude earthquake, and then it just caused minor damage. So we are not expecting a very devastating picture from there, because the intensity, just the magnitude is 5.3 as of now, according to the Nepali geological survey.
Right now you're saying there isn't any news of destruction or injuries. What about the authorities? What's the word from authorities as far as this earthquake is concerned? Surinder.
Because it happened in a very remote area in far west Nepal, actually a couple hundred kilometers east of Uttarakhand. Reports are still sketchy. We still don't know the scale of damage, but we are expecting further details in the hours to come.
You said that this happened in a remote area. This, I believe, is western Nepal. Just explain to us this particular region. Which are the districts here? How many people, in fact, live here? How far is this away from Kathmandu? What more can you tell us, Surinder?
It is actually about 1,000 or 1,200 kilometers west of Kathmandu. This area is sparsely populated, being the mountains, but there are people living all around the mountains and hills, so it's a very hilly area near Saipal, Himal. Actually, geographically speaking, this area is closer to Uttarakhand and possibly closer to Delhi compared to Kathmandu, where we could not feel any tremor at all.
Okay. Yes, you are right about that, Surinder, because here in Delhi and Noida region, we have felt it. It's been felt in the Indo-Gangetic plains and also the Punjab, Haryana, essentially the northern part of India is where these tremors have been felt. Surinder is getting us all of those details from Kathmandu, and Surinder is saying that right now there has been no information of devastation, vis-a-vis destruction and injuries or deaths, but these are details that in fact will be coming in. This was 6.2 on the Richter scale. 5.3 is what the Nepal Seismology department is saying. However, 4.6 and 6.2, essentially, there have been two earthquakes, Surinder. What more can you tell us about that now? Is the Nepal Seismology department saying something else?
No, as of now, the report is saying 5.3, but then the seismologists must be analyzing more data And probably once a big earthquake happens, or moderate intensity earthquake like this happens, there are bound to be aftershocks. And the second earthquake you are talking about must be an aftershock of the first one. So in the hours to come, there will be more aftershocks according to seismologists, because that's normally what happens after a big earthquake strike.
Always is the case, because aftershocks also are worrying, and for that precautions need to be taken. Any word from the authorities on what precautions can be taken given that aftershocks are expected?
Basically,
Okay.
in the event of an earthquake, authorities alert people, tell people not to panic and take a cover and move away from shaky buildings or fragile structures, but they need to keep themselves away from harm's way.
Okay. Be with us, Surinder, to tell our viewers. These are pictures, in fact, that viewers have been sending us. On the right side of your screen is these are visuals, in fact, of our own building, of our own office here in Noida, where all our colleagues, in fact, evacuated the building as soon as they felt the tremors here. Earthquake tremors have been felt in Uttarakhand region. Also is the information that we have with us: Punjab, Haryana, Delhi National Capital Region. 2 earthquakes, and the one that was felt in Delhi NCR region is being touted as an aftershock essentially. 4.6 on the Richter scale and 6.2. 2 earthquakes essentially. Surinder, my colleague, in fact, is in Kathmandu getting us more details. Right now says the information is sketchy. This was the western part of Nepal, which is not very well habitated, and of course information is awaited on the extent of the damage. Too early to say anything, because 2:51 p.m. and 2:52 p.m. that was the time when the earthquake essentially struck the western part of Nepal. Surinder was telling us that it's actually closer to northern India than it is to Kathmandu. So closer to the northern part of India, and that's the reason why it's bordering India, and that's the reason why we felt the tremors here in the northern part of the country. We'll try and go across to my colleagues also. Shiv Arur, also if we can, in fact, be joined by Shiv and my colleagues from Ground Zero, also getting us up to speed. And the very first reactions of the people, because the tremors were very strong, and the instant reaction was to, in fact, leave the building in which most people were and to come out in an open space. And that really is, in fact, the protocol. Earthquake felt in the northern part of India. The epicenter is Nepal. That's what we know. These are pictures, in fact, on your screen coming in from some of these pictures, in fact, are being sent in by viewers of India Today, who have essentially sent us their experience and what they saw when the earthquake struck. Tremors that were felt in various parts of northern India, and Punjab, Haryana, Delhi National Capital Region, Noida is what we know, also Uttarakhand. The epicenter of the earthquake is Nepal, and we have a confirmation on that. 4.6 and 6.2. Now the location really is near Gularia and Lumbini province in Nepal. This is western Nepal, is what we know. At about 2:51 and 2:52. Earthquakes were felt. 2 different estimates given as far as the Richter scale is concerned. 4.6 and 6.2. There are some details of the depth as well, and what we know is that it's about 10 kilometers as far as the depth is concerned. But the tremors were certainly felt here in northern India, closer to western Nepal, share the border, and that's the reason why in Uttarakhand, in Punjab, in Delhi, NCR region, Noida, that's where we felt the tremors of this earthquake. 6.2 on the Richter scale. Still awaiting more details as far as Nepal, in fact, is concerned, vis-a-vis if at all there have been any reports of devastation and injuries. We are awaiting those details. The epicenter of this earthquake was Nepal. The National Center for Seismology has pinned the epicenter of the earthquake to Nepal. Massive tremors are felt in Delhi after 2 earthquakes in Nepal, one of magnitude 4.6, the second one 6.2. The depth of this earthquake was 5 kilometers. The first earthquake hit Nepal at about 2:25 before being hit by the second one at 2:51 p.m. Earthquake of magnitude 6.2 occurred today. 5 kilometers was the depth. The location was Nepal, is what we know. This at 2:51. Before that, the earthquake of 4.6 magnitude on the Richter scale was in fact felt in Nepal again. Essentially, the second one, that of 6.2 magnitude, was an aftershock that was felt. Tremors are felt in the National Capital Region and Noida. Also, we have some reports of the tremors being felt in the Uttarakhand region, which is closer to the western Nepal border. Western Nepal is where the earthquake's epicenter was. This was the Balua area of Gorkha district, which is 140 kilometers west of Kathmandu, is what we know. In fact, these are details coming in right now of 2 earthquakes that we are picking up from the National Center of Seismology and also this Department of Seismology in Nepal. 4.6, I beg your pardon, and 6.2 on the Richter scale. Details of the earthquake in western Nepal, tremors of which strong ones are felt in the National Capital Region. There were 2 earthquakes, or rather 1 earthquake, and the second one is being said to be an aftershock. Was also in fact the tremors of the same were felt in northern India, Delhi and the surrounding NCT, or the National Capital Territory of Delhi, the National Capital Region. Earlier, in fact, today there were 2 earthquakes. One was at 2:25 p.m. The magnitude was 4.6. The second one was at 2:51. The magnitude was 6.2 on the Richter scale. The tremors have been felt in the northern part of India. We are waiting for more details on the same. But right now, what we know, and this of course is from anecdotal evidence, is that the tremors were extremely strong. And these are pictures, in fact, from our very own office here in Noida, where our colleagues were seen evacuating the office building as is the procedure. Twin earthquakes felt in the Delhi NCR region, parts of North India, Punjab, Haryana, Uttarakhand is what we know. The epicenter of the earthquake is western Nepal, very close to the Indian border, essentially to the northern part of the country, to Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana region, and also to the national capital and the National Capital Region. Hence, the tremors were felt in the NCR area as well. My colleague Ankit is getting us more details on that story, and he joins us from Dehradun right now, where the tremors were felt. Ankit, what do you really see around you? Of course, there was panic as everybody stepped out of their homes and offices. What more can you tell us about the current situation?
Well, Sneha, the tremors jolted the earth, and the tremors were felt in Uttarakhand and as well as other states of the country. Here, 2 times the earthquake jolted, and once it was around at 25 past 2, and the magnitude was 4.6. Then again, the earthquake tremors were felt, and the magnitude was around 6.2. So twice people felt earthquake, and a lot of people came out of their home in border areas of Uttarakhand because the epicenter of the earthquake was Nepal, and the depth was around 6.2. So obviously Uttarakhand is a vulnerable area if earthquake and natural disasters are concerned. We have seen many earthquake incidents in the past as well. Warnings were raised by the authorities, and yet again earthquake tremors were felt while PM Modi's visit to Pithoragarh is scheduled on 11th and 12th. So the preparations are in full swing.
Kamaljeet, my colleague, is joining us from Chandigarh. Kamal, in fact, I'm going to hand it over to you. You were telling us about the tremors that were felt and also about how people responded to it. Kamal.
Well, absolutely. It was not a shudder. It was a big tremor. We were actually on the 4th floor and we came running down and just see this is Sector 17. It is the heart of Chandigarh city. There are several office goers with us. And now you see a lot of people who actually just walked out of their shops and out of their offices because obviously they felt safe in the open spaces. Now we have with us some people who are outside. ये बताइए कि भूकंप का झटका थोड़ी देर पहले आया. क्या हुआ था? क्या महसूस किया?
हम अंदर थे, सडनली बहुत तेज आवाज आई, कस्टमर्स की भी कुछ बाहर आए, हम भी फटाफट बाहर आए, बट बहुत तेज था वो और अनएक्सपेक्टेड था कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ.
और तब से आप लोग बाहर ही हैं?
हम, बट वी आर सेफ.
ये मुझे बताइए कि अब क्योंकि कुछ समय हो चुका है कि नॉर्मलसी वापस आ गई है, कोई घर वालों से बातचीत हुई, कहीं व्हाट्सएप पे कोई एक्सचेंज हुआ या सोशल मीडिया पे आपने देखा?
व्हाट्सएप पे भी एक्सचेंज हुआ है कि मैसेज जो है फॉरवर्ड किया कि और वो बताया भी है उन्होंने कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है और बात भी की है, बट सब नॉर्मल है. अब पहले था but
Well, is telling us that things appear to be normal as far as Chandigarh is concerned. We are hoping that there haven't been injuries and devastation in that earthquake. The tremors of the same that were felt in the northern part of India. The epicenter was Nepal, is what we know. With that, it's time for a quick commercial break. Here on the other side, UAPA sections invoked in FIRs against NewsClick journalists. These are stringent provisions of the UAPA, the terrorist act essentially. Cops have grilled journalists, have been grilling these journalists since morning over Shaheen Bagh, and they've been also questioned on the farmers' protest.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company. You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company.
Elon Musk's brain chip startup Neuralink says it has received approval to begin recruiting patients for its first human trial. An independent review board has given the green light for the company to seek people with paralysis to test its experimental device in a 6-year study. The study will use a robot to surgically place a brain-computer interface, or BCI, implant in a region of the brain that controls the intention to move. Neuralink says the initial goal is to enable people to control a computer cursor or keyboard using their thoughts alone. Musk has grand ambitions for this medical device company, saying it would facilitate speedy surgical insertions of its chip devices to treat conditions like obesity, autism, depression, and schizophrenia.
The first two applications we're going to aim for in humans are restoring vision, and I think this is notable in that even if someone has never had vision ever, like they were born blind, we believe we can still restore vision. And then the other application being in the motor cortex, where we would initially enable someone who has almost no ability to operate their muscles and enable them to operate their phone faster than someone who has working hands.
In May, the company said it had received clearance from the US Food and Drug Administration for its first in-human clinical trial. Its previous testing in animals is under federal scrutiny for potential animal welfare violations.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company.
air quality today. In Delhi, 174. In Mumbai, 93. In Kolkata, 50. In Bangalore, 33. In Chennai, 57. In Hyderabad, 146.
All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest. Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company.
We have some news just coming in. Founder and editor-in-chief of NewsClick, Prabir Purkayastha, has been brought to Delhi Police's special cell. This is the founder of NewsClick, Prabir Purkayastha, who has been brought to Delhi Police's special cell. The investigations, remember, is in connection with the Journalist Association of these journalists, many of them associated with NewsClick, amid the China funding controversy. It's a fresh case that has been registered by the Delhi Police Special Cell against NewsClick. Arvind Oja is getting us more details on that story. Arvind, इस पर very latest details आ रहे हैं कि NewsClick के फाउंडर को क्वेश्चनिंग के लिए दिल्ली पुलिस स्पेशल सेल में ले आई है।
हाँ बिल्कुल, देखिए जो अगर सुबह की बात की जाए तो जो न्यूज़ क्लिक के फाउंडर है उनके यहाँ पहले रेड हुई थी, उसके बाद स्पेशल सेल उनसे पूछताछ की थी, उनको लेकर उनके घर पर भी गई थी। उनका जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिवाइस है, चाहे मोबाइल हो लैपटॉप, वो सीज किया स्पेशल सेल ने और उसके बाद फिर दोबारा लोधी कॉलोनी स्पेशल सेल में उनको लेकर और उनसे पूछताछ की जा रही है। सिर्फ जो फाउंडर है वही नहीं बल्कि और भी जो न्यूज़ क्लिक से जुड़े हुए लोग हैं उनसे पूछताछ की गई है। उन कईयों के मोबाइल फोन और लैपटॉप वो सीज किए गए हैं। मॉर्निंग से ही अगर बात करें तो ये एक वेल कोऑर्डिनेटेड रेड थी जो स्पेशल सेल ने की सुबह 6 बजे से तकरीबन 100 प्लेसेस थे, जिसमें दिल्ली, गाजियाबाद, नोएडा, गुरुग्राम, मुंबई यहाँ पर रेड हुई और 500 से ज्यादा स्पेशल सेल के जो ऑफिशियल है वो इस रेड में शामिल थे। फिलहाल उनसे पूछताछ की जा रही है जो फाउंडर है, उसके अलावा और भी कई ऐसे लोग हैं, कुछ यूट्यूबर्स हैं जिनको स्पेशल सेल की टीम लेकर उनसे फिलहाल पूछताछ कर रही है।
जी बिल्कुल, शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। अरविंद ओझा getting us those details as far as the investigations in connection to NewsClick is concerned. And here's more. Trouble mounting for NewsClick. The Delhi police conducted raids in at least 100 locations in Delhi adjoining areas, including houses of journalists and places associated with the news portal NewsClick. Multiple NewsClick journalists, including the editor-in-chief, have been brought to the special cell for questioning. Activist Teesta Satalwad's house in Mumbai was also searched by the probing officials. The portal and its officials have been booked under the provisions of the UAPA for terrorism, for promoting enmity between two groups, criminal conspiracy and offences by companies. Inside Scoop also suggests that cops are grilling the journalists over events like Shaheen Bagh protests and even the farmers' protests. During the raid, the special cell of the Delhi police seized a lot of electronic evidence, laptops, mobile phones, and took data dumps of hard disks. As per government sources, it is not a question of freedom of speech, but of sovereignty, given that a lot was being said about the freedom of speech being messed around with right here. Now, as the China funds controversy erupts, this is in connection to that. The allegation is that these were funds from China that was being used to attack India's sovereignty. A political war of words has erupted over the fresh raids being carried out BJP's claim there is no need to justify the raids for the agencies are just doing their job. They're carrying out the searches. On the other hand, calling it a disgrace to democracy and also the country, the Congress has suggested these raids come as a fresh distraction from the explosive findings of caste census in Bihar.
देखिए, मुझे जस्टिफाई करने की जरूरत नहीं है। अगर किसी ने गलत किया है तो उसके ऊपर जांच एजेंसियां काम करती हैं और ये कहीं नहीं लिखा कि आपके पास अगर गलत तरीके से पैसा आया होगा, आपत्तिजनक कोई कार्य होगा तो उसके ऊपर कोई जांच एजेंसी कार्रवाई नहीं कर सकती। जांच एजेंसियां स्वतंत्रता है, वो अपनी कार्रवाई नियमों को देखकर करती है।
न्यूज़ क्लिक और इन जैसे जुड़े हुए कोई भी संस्था होगी जो राष्ट्रीय विरोधी काम करेगी, देश की अखंडता पे कुटारघात करेगी और देश को तोड़ने का काम करेगी, विदेशी पैसे से चलने का काम करेगी, उन पे सब पे ऐसे ही कार्रवाई होगी। चाइना हमारे देश हमारे को बढ़ते हुआ देखना पसंद नहीं करता, इसलिए अनेक एजेंसियों जो राष्ट्रीय विरोधी एजेंसियाँ हैं उनका इस्तेमाल कर देश को के ऊपर आक्रमण करने का काम कर रहा है अनेक प्रकार से। मुझे लगता है कि देश आज बर्दाश्त करने के मूड में नहीं है।
They are terrorizing the people who are questioning the government. And earlier we have seen, the country has witnessed, the world has witnessed, when Rahul Gandhi ji questioned Bharatiya Janata Party and Narendra Modi and Adani, he was dismissed from the parliament. Ultimately, it is the court had to intervene. So when they don't spare Rahul Gandhi himself, do you think they will spare this smaller journalist and all? This harassment and this terrorizing the journalists will not go a long way, and people will teach them a lesson within 4 months.
ये जो कायरतापूर्ण कार्रवाई है पत्रकारों के खिलाफ, इसका आम आदमी पार्टी पुरजोर विरोध करती है। वो चीन की घुसपैठ पे तो नहीं बोलते और जो पत्रकार उनके खिलाफ आवाज उठाते हैं उनके खिलाफ ऐसी कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं।
मैं समझता हूं इससे ज्यादा दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण और दुर्भावनापूर्ण कार्रवाई ठीक गांधी जयंती के पश्चात कोई नहीं हो सकती थी। क्यों कह रहे हैं आप दिल्ली पुलिस गृह मंत्री के अंदर है, उनकी मर्जी के बगैर पत्ता हिलता है। जो लोग आपसे सवाल पूछें, जो आपकी भजन मंडली में शामिल होने से इनकार करते हैं, आप उनके साथ, ये आपका स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर हो गया। एक फासिस्ट स्टेट की जितनी उसके अवयव होते हैं सब आप में विद्यमान है। क्या नजीर पेश कर रहे हैं आप?
The president of CPIM, General Secretary Sitaram Yechuri, was also raided by the Delhi police to search belongings of some NewsClick employees who had stayed at the premises. Yechuri said that this is an attempt to muzzle the media, adding that this is the proof for India's sliding in the press freedom index.
NewsClick पर आज यूएपीए के मामले में दिल्ली पुलिस की छापेमारी हुई है। पहले जो जांच ईडी कर रही थी और उसमें आपके आवास पर भी पुलिस पहुंची जांच करने के लिए।
ये यूएपीए के बारे में मतलब क्या क्या सवाल का मतलब आपका? यूएपीए का मतलब क्या है? यूएपीए किस लिए है?
उनका कहना है कि ये टेरर संबंधी